Welcome to the Frontline Fantasy Football Podcast. This is your host, Jason Cameron, and I'm here with my co-host, Jonathan Hausler.
How's it going?
And the producer, the Eiseneers, Seth Hansen.
6-3.
6-3. Seth can say that for the first time in his life. He's actually 6-3.
What? Is that true?
Yeah, you had the 1 year you actually won it. You had a suspect record
to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So today
6-3.
is November 8th, 2017.
Shout out to Brandon.
Wednesday. Brandon's not here.
If only he was here.
Seth and Brandon actually played each other. Seth was down by
40. It was right around 40 points.
40 points.
Oof.
Seth had Matthew Stafford and Marvin Jones Jr.
And Jordy
to go.
Nelson, though. But I knew Jordy Nelson was going to be garbage.
And
Right.
Jordy Nelson. And ended up pulling off the victory by under 3 points.
It ended up being 7 because he had
7.
the Detroit defense. But this is 2 suspect wins against Brandon because the first win, Diggs had like 30.
So you own Brandon.
I own Brandon.
You own him. Brandon, he owns you.
Hashtag pray for Brandon.
Once again, very relevant hashtag this year. So
I'm just joking, P.
we want to give well, I should have done this last week, but we want to congratulate John Cruz on winning the gift card giveaway. To win that, you had to name the 2 new athletes. So we have White Goodman and Cal Naughton Jr. added to the table.
Ema.
2 legends themselves.
I mean, Epaw, sorry.
Every person.
Yeah, they changed it.
They changed it. Kansas State reference for those of you who don't know that. But we don't even know John. So this was not. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just happened to know that fact.
He was the first person to get it. So congratulations, John. Got himself a $10.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I would fire you if I had anybody else. But got himself a $10 Starbucks gift card. So congrats, John. Let's go ahead and get this podcast started unless you want to say anything, Jonathan.
I don't know.
It's a lot of pressure. What
It is a lot of
is he
pressure.
supposed to
You
say?
put me on the spot over here.
Jonathan, can you give us some real good wisdom off the top of your head
Off
right
the top
now?
of my head.
Nope.
I'm drawing a blank.
Moving right along.
I'm not. No wisdom here.
Nothing going on up there.
Nope. Empty.
Okay, so injuries. First one, biggest one. Jameis Winston injured his throwing shoulder. He's shut down for at least a couple of weeks, so his backup is Ryan Fitzpatrick. And we will we'll talk about him later on.
Did you know
in the show.
that Ryan
Good idea.
Fitzpatrick studied abroad?
Well, and next injury
Wisdom.
up, Martellus Bennett injured his shoulder and will not play this week versus the Bears. He is also going to be in the news because about 10 minutes ago, before we started this podcast, the Packers cut ties with Martellus
I was
Bennett.
about to say that.
So he is a goner.
Yep.
It wasn't really fantasy relevant anyway, so not too big of an impact. Basically, they released him for not disclosing his injury to the team. He didn't.
Oh,
So,
wow.
That's weird.
yeah.
I've never heard of that before.
I don't know why.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
Especially since he had 3-year, $21 million contract. So I don't know why you would put that in jeopardy, but that's up to him. Next 2 injuries, they are people returning from injuries. I mentioned Greg Olsen coming back in Week 12. Is going to come back in Week 12, and Danny Woodhead's going to come back in Week 11.
Right.
So I mentioned that last week. 2 other people that are coming back. We have Charles Clay coming back this week. Looks like he's going to play. Finally returned to practice.
Yes.
Tight end depleted year. Definitely pick him up. And then we have Corey Coleman has also returned to practice. Hands fully healed. So the Browns will now have Corey Coleman and Josh Gordon. Because Josh Gordon heading on right into news has been reinstated.
Yeah.
Met with the Browns. Seems like they were going to talk with him, basically see if they were going to cut ties with him or not. And they decided to hold on to him. And he was able to go into their meeting rooms, wide receiver meeting rooms, and head on out to practice. So,
And he's eligible to play Week 13, so a few weeks away, but
the start of the fantasy playoffs.
yeah,
So
could lead you to victory.
yeah. And if you're feeling gutsy, play him.
Yeah,
Worth a pickup for you.
that's true.
Is he worth a pickup?
Yeah, I think if you have a spot, there's not a problem with that. Just knowing Gordon's history and how crazy good he is, and if he can get back to that, I mean, he's startable every week, so he's definitely worth a spot.
Definitely in dynasty leagues as well.
True.
He used to say, what did he say? He was either drunk or high before every game,
Or both,
yeah. So he was killing it.
which is crazy.
Number one in receiving yards during that magical year he had.
Yeah, that's insane.
What an athlete. So and now
true.
our next one, Mike Evans. Speaking of idiots,
You're an idiot.
basically body slammed the Saints cornerback when he
You're
wasn't
an idiot.
looking.
And then threw punches
Yeah,
at him while he
and-
was on the ground.
I'm not even sure why. Jameis poked the cornerback, and then
Yeah,
Mike Evans came flying in out of nowhere.
I know. I didn't understand that. I'm sure there were words said, but still.
Just watching it, it didn't look like. I don't know why he got so offended, but he clearly
Yeah.
had at least a 20-yard run straight at him, and then he jumped into that cornerback.
It was full blast.
So I don't know how that cornerback was able to get it back up.
And on that note, I think we're lucky that no one else is suspended from the week, like AJ Green and all those
So
people.
I don't get
It's-
how not.
I know, like if Mike
How
Evans
does
is
he not
suspended,
get suspended for that?
I think they were saying because it happened in the first half, so he sat out a half, which kind of
Oh,
counts as
no,
sitting out.
it's
But still,
stupid.
Just
I think
dumb.
if you're going to set a precedent and suspend one person, why wouldn't you suspend all the people that have done the same thing?
Exactly. I mean, if you're going to suspend Mike Evans and he did it in the fourth quarter, then
Yeah.
Mike Evans should have to sit out 3 quarters and then come back in the fourth
Right.
quarter.
Right. If we're playing by halves,
yeah,
then
I
yeah.
mean, if we're going to do something dumb like, I don't know. I just don't get it, but
I don't either.
that's just me. And Teddy Bridgewater is going to dress this Sunday. He's able to play. Money, Seth says. Yeah.
And Bradford's on IR officially. How the times have changed, man.
Seriously.
I am shocked. But anyway, Teddy's going to dress this Sunday. He's able to play, but Case Keenum's going to get the start. He's earned it.
Does Bradford
Played pretty well this
play
year.
for an NFL? Does Bradford start for another NFL team?
Yeah, he'll probably start for the Vikings next year.
You think?
Yeah,
Really?
I doubt it.
Case Keenum's not that great. Teddy's not that great.
I think
I know
well,
Teddy
was doing really good before he got injured. That's the thing.
Check down Teddy.
What year has Bradford gone without being injured? Has he gone a full season? Because I know he
his
was
first
he
2
was
years at
habitually
Oklahoma.
injured with the Rams.
Yeah.
God, Oklahoma. You went back to college. I was like, what are you talking about? I don't know if he does, but
I don't know. I don't see him. I don't see him starting for the Vikings if he comes back.
can they afford to do that again? Like structure the entire offense around some guy, and then he's just like, well, it's not his fault, but he's just injury
Right.
prone.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Not going to be a fantasy
Skull.
player that you're going to want to keep on your dynasty team
No.
anyway.
Oh
So
my
Right.
gosh.
really doesn't matter. And then Jonathan, did you have a Zeke update?
Yeah.
Any news on him?
Yep. He has a hearing tomorrow afternoon, and to see if he can get another injunction, which would stop the suspension. So it depends.
No!
This is a charade.
I like that. I know.
This is a charade.
It's up and down, never ending. So we'll see. We might find out tomorrow. It may take the judges longer to decide, longer than tomorrow. But more to come on that later on in the week.
Wait, it's going to take a while for our legal system to make a decision?
Shocking, right?
This isn't a politics podcast, so we're going to keep this fantasy insight rolling.
Keep it light with that dolphin.
Dogs vs. Babies, week 2. Check out those videos on Instagram of Ezzy, Blake, Khaleesi, and Chief choosing their picks. This week it was Amari Cooper versus Devontae Adams. Jonathan's son Ezra chose Devontae Adams. My son Blake chose Amari Cooper. Seth's dog Khaleesi chose Amari Cooper, and Brandon's dog Chief chose Devontae Adams. It was a close one, but Amari Cooper ended up edging Devontae Adams out 5.8 to 5.3. Oh, yeah. So that puts dogs through 2 weeks at 2-4, and that puts Babies at 1-4. So not starting out so hot. Blake
No.
1-2, Ezra 0-2, Chief 1-2, and Khaleesi 1-2.
We can come back from this though. It's close.
Babies will return.
It's true. Babies strike back.
So, our next segment. Did Brock Osweiler suck? Jeez, Seth.
Sorry. There must be a short in this mic or something.
Weird.
Did Brock Osweiler suck this week?
Yes.
The answer is yes. Next segment called Looking Ahead. Basically, players to trade for or pick up. So, Jonathan, you want to start us out?
Yeah. My first one is Devontae Parker.
Can we get some music, by the way, Seth?
Sure, Jason.
Thank you.
I'll talk while you choose music still.
Please do.
Graham Barfield, he is a fantasy analyst. He tweeted earlier this week, Devontae Adams has seen 8+ targets and scored at least 12.5 PPR points in the games that he's been healthy, the 4 games he's been healthy. His upcoming schedule's really good. And last week he had 5 catches for 76 yards, one of Cutler's favorite targets. I like him for someone, if you're wide receiver needy, he's someone you can get for pretty cheap right now. That should help you out later on in the season.
Jonathan, I have one question.
Yeah.
Was that commentator's name Graham Barfield?
Either Barfield, there's one F.
So either way, bad.
Barfield, yeah.
Yes. Carry on.
Great name.
Sorry, that's a terrible name.
Sorry, Graham.
Wow. My first one. I went to the other side of the I went to the slot position on the Dolphins. I went to Jarvis Landry. Tweeted this out. Last 4 games with Cutler, he's averaged 7 catches, 58 yards, and a touchdown. So, what's that? 11.8 fantasy points standard, 18.8
Yeah.
PPR. So, pretty solid the last 4 games. 3rd in the league in targets. He's always really far up there. And just the thing, he's been the one consistently receiving the touchdowns. I know Parker was there, and I kind of was worried about what Jarvis Landry was going to do, but Jarvis Landry ended up getting the touchdown. So
right.
I think he's somebody you would want to acquire.
Yeah, I agree. And Landry, especially in PPR, he's PPR gold.
Exactly.
You know? So, yeah, if you're in PPR, he's definitely a great person to target.
Your next one.
Next one I had Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, he's a well-known player. You know, he's doing pretty good. And last week, Jonathan Stewart fumbled twice, and McCaffrey took the lead back role there. He had 15 attempts, 66 yards, and a touchdown, along with 5 catches and 28 receiving yards. He's had at least 4 catches every game. And his fantasy playoff schedule is really nice. Plays the Saints, the Vikings, the Packers, the Buccaneers, and the Falcons.
We're going to shut that kid down.
We'll see.
You want to know my favorite part of watching him play was how much smaller than Cam Newton.
You didn't give us a chance to ask. To respond to
Sorry, Cam Newton is a large man.
No, I didn't
and Christian
care.
McCaffrey looks
My next
tiny.
one is Michael Thomas. He hasn't scored double-digit fantasy points since week 4, so you might be able to trade low for him.
Yep.
But he's had at least 5 catches in 7 of 8 games this year. He's 9th in the league in targets, so that's clearly going to turn around. He's eventually going to get these touchdowns, and he's a clear number 1 wide receiver that I think you need to acquire on your team.
He's kind of under the radar right now, I feel like. I mean, you drafted him pretty high, but, I mean, just the way he's performed.
Right.
You can definitely get him for cheaper than you should.
Yes, and he could easily end up as the number 1 wide receiver this year.
Very true.
Pass happy team.
Agreed. My next one, Jerick McKinnon. He's in a split backfield with Latavius Murray. But in PPR leagues, he's had 3 20-plus point games since week 5. And since Dalvin Cook went down, McKinnon is the running back 3 in overall scoring and 8th in yards per scrimmage. He's one that, I don't know. He's had good weeks, but he's had a couple bad weeks too. And fantasy owners may be willing to give him up for something too. So one to target.
Yeah, he's the type of person who could put up 8 points or put up 20-something points. And
right.
I mean, that's kind of what you want. You want that ceiling. So, I mean, he's definitely worth a risk, and you're not going to have to pay running back 1 price for him. So
exactly. And you can get running back 1 points.
I like it. My next one, Danny Woodhead. Just as I mentioned earlier in this podcast, he's going to return from injury week 11, or possible to return. As you've seen, Buck Allen's getting those passes in the red zone. I think Buck Allen has 3 or 4 receiving touchdowns this year on just little, like 1-yard outs from the running back position.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just the usage he had at the beginning of the year, they were targeting him a ton, and I think he led the team in targets before he was injured. So.
Yeah. And another thing is, on that note, too, if you have Buck Allen, right now is the time to sell him. While
Yes.
he's coming off a good game where he had like 19 PPR points, something like that.
Right.
Now is the perfect time to sell him before Woodhead comes back, so you have some
Package
value.
him in a deal, anything.
Right.
Get rid of him.
Just get him off your team. My next one, Amari Cooper. Even after his 40-point game, people are still hesitant on him. But the last 3 games, Cooper has had a larger target share than Michael Crabtree. It's a good time to buy him, especially since he's on a bye week. And if you have the depth to just have him on your bench for a week after you trade for him. His upcoming schedule looks pretty good too. He really only has a couple bad games out of the next 6 or 7 games they have left.
And he has to play the Chiefs, I believe.
Right.
Up, so.
Which is the team that he scored over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns on.
Yeah.
That's
So-
incredible.
33 points.
Yeah.
I thought you were setting that up for the Chiefs being a staunch defense.
No, the only 2 bad defenses he has coming up are the good defenses he has coming up are the Broncos and the Eagles. Other than that, his schedule's pretty good.
Well, the funny thing is the Chiefs actually benched their number 2 and 3 corners, Phillip Gaines and what's his face that actually he's that guy that actually gets burnt. But they benched those 2, put in their 4 and 5 corners, and people still obviously target their 4 and 5 corners.
Right.
So Terrence Williams, I mean, he's done nothing all year for the Cowboys. In last game, he had over 120 something receiving yards.
Yeah,
so
he exploded.
I think that's just because he played the Chiefs. He's not somebody that you should actually pick up on your waivers.
Makes sense.
You can carry on.
Yeah.
I just
That's all I
had
had
to
for
add
Cooper.
that little side
I like
note in.
that though, and I think Terrence Williams got injured during that game too.
Yeah,
So he could have even had a bigger game if he
Right.
would have stayed in.
Exactly. Greg Olsen, my next one. Just another guy returning from injury. Actually, my next 3 are people returning from injury. So
Nice.
turns week 12. Cam Newton's favorite target. He was super consistent. I mean, he led the team in targets. Funchess will probably lead the team in targets when he comes back, but Greg Olsen's going to be right there with him. And that easy red zone threat. So pick him up, especially since he hasn't played in a while. You can easily trade for him.
I like it. My next one, Ted Ginn Jr. He's basically the new wide receiver 2 on the Saints.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye, Willie Snead.
I was going to say R.I.P. But Ginn has over 50 yards the last 4 games. And over the past 3 weeks, he's caught 13 of 15 targets for 268 yards and a score. He's another one that a little undervalued right now, but can still get you consistent points. And if you're wide receiver needy, you could get him for pretty cheap.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it'll continue.
Yeah,
Saints are going to throw the ball. I mean,
right. And if Michael Thomas has the best cornerback on him, then obviously Ginn's going to benefit from that too.
my next one is Corey Davis. So he's kind of somebody that everybody had high hopes for, and then he went out and got injured, and now he's coming back. Had 5 targets last game, 2 catches for 28 yards, but his first catch back was like an incredible 15-yard toe-tapping catch on the sidelines. So just kind of showcasing his athleticism. He's somebody that could end up being just a stud, and he was second on the team in targets coming back, which normally Delaney Walker is up there, but Delaney Walker's value kind of suffered because of Corey Davis coming back. So
Right.
downgrade Delaney Walker, Corey Davis coming up. I think Rashard Matthews actually led the team in targets with 7 targets last game. I don't think that's going to carry on. I think Corey Davis is going to take over that number 1 wide receiver role, especially since he was lining up in that spot a ton.
True.
Last week.
I like it. Next one I had was Marquise Lee. Obviously, he's a wide receiver on the Jags, so you can't raise your expectations too high. But he has taken over that number 1 wide receiver role on the team. Over the past 3 games, he has racked up 18 targets. In the past 3 games, he's had over 70 yards, and he had a touchdown this past week as well, I believe. So he's kind of coming into his own, and I mean, the Jaguars' offense is looking pretty good with their run game, so he's definitely worth a look if he's on your waiver wire, or even if you want to trade with someone, you can offer him usually a flex type person and probably get him.
Oh yeah, for sure. And when I looked, I'm trying to look it up right now. I thought he was top 15 in targets this year.
Dang.
Which just shows how much. I mean, let's see. Maybe he's not top 15. He was pretty high. It just shows how much the Jaguars don't actually throw the ball a ton. They hand the ball off like crazy. So.
Right. I mean, you got to hide the fact that Bortles isn't very good. But at the same time, the Jaguars don't really have many other wide receiver options, too. You know, there's Lee, and there's really not many other options.
Allen Hurns.
Yeah. And then I know there was a Westbrook guy that was supposed to come back.
Top 30, so not even close to what I was thinking. But he's still up there for top 30 is not bad.
No, not at all.
Especially for a wide receiver 3 or flex play. He's putting up good numbers.
True.
Next one for me, CJ Procise, finally returning from injury. Seahawks running back, you say. You don't want to pick up a Seahawks running back? Well, he's one that I actually think you should pick up. He used to be a receiver in college at Notre Dame. Kind of moved him over to a running back. He's kind of like the Ty Montgomery type. So he's kind of the perfect running back for the Seahawks situation, especially with Russell Westbrook when you just scramble around and then maybe dump it off. And I think CJ Procise is going to end up being the guy because, I mean, Eddie Lacy's hasn't proven anything, and he got injured.
Right. He's out for this week.
You have Thomas Rawls, who's done absolutely nothing, which you would think he would be all right. But, I mean, CJ Procise, pick him up. If anything, stash him on your roster. You never know.
I agree. I think the only hard part is it seems like he's made of glass. You know, like he's constantly injured. So as long as he stays healthy, he's good. But I think
maybe even trade him if he does good.
That's true.
Yeah.
Sell high.
And I know Chris Carson, he was on the no, he's not out for the year, so he's coming back soon. But something to watch out for. I don't know how soon. I haven't heard anything on him, but just a name to keep in mind.
Right. He was really good. My last one I had was Matt Ryan. If you had a quarterback that got injured like Rodgers or Watson, Matt Ryan might be someone you could target. He has a good upcoming schedule. He plays the Cowboys, the Buccaneers, who are on a dumpster fire right now, and then the Saints twice too. He scored more than 16 points the last 3 games. Before that, seemed like he was struggling. The offense was struggling, but it seems like slowly but surely they're picking it up, and Matt Ryan seems to be heating up again.
It's funny that you ended with a quarterback because I also ended with a quarterback.
Nice. We're thinking alike.
We got Tyrod Taylor, currently averaging 16.5 points per game. Currently quarterback number 13. He's been killing it without any decent receivers, and now he finally has Kelvin Benjamin, and he's getting Charles Clay back. So
all the weapons.
That should help out. And then his fantasy playoff schedule. Plays the Patriots twice. The Patriots have been terrible against the pass. Plays the Dolphins. Nobody's scared of the Dolphins. And then he plays the Dolphins. What's that sound drop, Seth?
I'm playing a song, Jason.
Oh, okay.
Can't do both.
So playing the Dolphins.
We're a limited technology podcast.
You can't do a live dolphin sound?
No, what do you think? We're made of money here.
A live dolphin sound?
Oh. Sorry.
You want to try again? He plays the Dolphins. And
I'm pretty happy with that one.
Yeah, we'll take it. So Patriots twice, the Dolphins, and then the Colts. So a pretty easy playoff schedule, especially if you are. I mean, if you're going to make the playoffs and you lost Aaron Rodgers or Carson Palmer or anybody you had starting at quarterback, he along with Matt Ryan is definitely somebody you should pick up.
I agree. And I think the other thing I like about Tyrod Taylor is the fact that he runs. He can run the ball. Yeah. I know. He keeps falling. But he's had 6 rushes in the last 3 games, so he also likes to run it, which I like. That gives you some extra points there too.
All right, so let's move on to our bold predictions. Let's review last week's bold predictions. Our first one up is Austin. He said LaShawn McCoy will score 20-plus fantasy points. Of course, that's incorrect because the Jets held him to just 2.5 fantasy points.
Oof.
Brandon's first one, Joe Mixon will rush for less than 20 yards. That's incorrect. He actually rushed for 31 yards.
But still,
you are one pathetic loser.
The concept is there. I mean, low rushing yards. He was almost there.
He was. and we'll just give him one clap. So I missed time clap.
Ended up being 2 claps.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
3.
you got lucky, Brandon. You got lucky. My first one, Josh McCown will be a top 12 quarterback. I was incorrect because he was the 15th best quarterback. Jonathan's first one, Aaron Jones will be a top 10 running back. So, of course, incorrect.
So close, though, right?
Well, if close, how close is 10 and 59 to you? Is that
so close?
So
Yeah.
close? Okay,
Yeah.
so according to your definition, he was so close. According to my definitions, Aaron Jones is trash.
You'd probably be right on that.
Second one for Austin. Marcus Mariota will not be a top 20 quarterback. That's incorrect. Of course it's incorrect. He was the 17th best quarterback. It's incorrect because there's just a million backup quarterbacks playing this week. Brett Hundley, Drew Stanton, CJ
Beathard.
Beathard.
Get it right.
Case Keenum's
This
playing.
person.
Or no, Case Keenum didn't play, but
Yeah.
I mean, just Tom Savage is out there throwing to the other team. I mean,
Blake? No.
it was
Brock Osweiler. Did we say him?
no, we didn't. Yeah, Brock
Gotta
Osweiler.
mention him.
Yeah, he's obviously gonna play better than Brock Osweiler. So I don't know what
True.
Austin was thinking. It was a bold prediction though. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess we'll give him kudos for that,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe one clap. Almost. All right.
That was better.
That's a little better. Brandon's second one is going with his ride or die, Ryan Suckup. He said he scores more points than LaShawn McCoy. It's of course correct because LaShawn McCoy had 2.5 points, and Ryan Suckup had 6 points. So killed it this week.
I hope he uses him again. Another Ryan Suckup prediction.
We will just have to wait and find out. My second one, the Eagles defense will score more points than Aaron Jones. Of course, I was correct again. Eagles got 10. Aaron Jones got the 1.1. So
Yeah.
Aaron Jones did not do very good, if you couldn't tell by the 59th running back ranking last week. Jonathan's second one, Golden Tate will be a top 10 receiver. That's incorrect because he was the 17th best receiver. So kind of close.
Yeah, he got the yardage.
90 yards. Just needed
Yeah.
that touchdown to bring him into
Yeah.
the top 10.
Yep, Marvin Jones stole it.
Then Brandon actually added a third one on. Brock Osweiler scores less than 5 fantasy points, and that's actually incorrect. Brock
Surprising.
Osweiler got 8.2 fantasy points due to a touchdown pass to Demaryius Thomas in the fourth quarter.
Otherwise, it would have been under 5. That's
Easily
crazy.
under 5, yeah.
That's crazy.
So Brandon loses out on that. So Austin goes 0 for 2. Brandon goes 1 for 3. I go 1 for 2. Jonathan, of course, goes 0 for 2. Should be a gimme by now if you haven't picked up on Jonathan's trend.
That's how it goes.
Jonathan is 1 for 19 at a whopping 5%.
My predictions
am-
are trash.
Yes, I'm 9 for 19, 47%. Brandon 4 for 18, killing Jonathan at 22%. Austin at 2 for 14, 14%. So let's go on to this week's bold predictions. Jonathan, do you want to start us off?
I'm ready. My first one is that I predict that Doug Baldwin will have more points than Melvin Gordon.
So bringing last year's bet back that you went 0 for 3 on.
Yep. I mean, I thought I might as well revive it.
Why not
I'm
make
at
it an
the-
even number and go 0 for 4?
Exactly. Got to keep it going. I mean,
So-
I'm already terrible at bold predictions, so why not
Expect
continue?
Doug Baldwin not to do anything this week and Melvin Gordon to take off.
Yes, it's going to happen.
So we will go with my first one. My first one is Ted Ginn Jr. will be a top 12 receiver
Okay.
going against the Bills this week, so decent defense. Austin's first one. Le'Veon Bell scores at least 2 rushing touchdowns this week. And what?
I'm
Brandon's first one.
it's
Oh.
questioning the boldness, I guess. It's still bold. 2 touchdowns is still bold, I guess, so I'll let it slide.
If he gets it, then we can debate it.
Then we'll give him yeah. Sounds good.
So Brandon's first one, can you guess who is in it?
Ryan Suckup?
Ryan Suckup will
Yes.
outscore Adrian Peterson, who was in the Thursday night game,
Oh.
going against the Seahawks. So I kind of question the boldness of Brandon's first one, but
Yeah. I don't I mean it's more bold coming off of Adrian Peterson's 37 carry week, I guess.
True.
That makes it bold.
so Jonathan, your second one.
Second one is Carlos Hyde is a top 7 running back this week. Carlos Hyde is playing the Giants, whose defense has basically given up. So, I see a good
R.I.P.
game.
to you Carlos Hyde owners, because Jonathan has just cursed you.
Yep, that's very true. But I am starting him in a league, so I hope I don't curse myself.
He already did.
Yep, it's happening.
My second one, Case Keenum is a top 10 QB.
Oh,
No comment from Seth. Okay.
Oh yeah.
here it is.
I love a fake comment.
Oh yeah.
2 fake comments is better than 1.
Oh yeah.
Brandon's second one, Kelvin Benjamin will be a top 10 wide receiver. So first game with the
Ooh.
Bills. They said they're actually going to let him run out there. He's going to get a chance to catch some balls, is what the coach said.
That's bold, though. I mean,
And-
the Dolphins, so... Wait, no, never mind. Not
that's-
Dolphins.
That's who the Panthers are
Wow,
playing.
I'm sorry. The Saints.
Saints.
Whose defense actually has been pretty good.
Yeah,
So, it's bold.
we'll see how that goes. And then Austin's second one, Ryan Fitzpatrick is a top 10 QB this week.
Oh.
I mean,
Jets defense hasn't been terrible either, though.
yeah, exactly. Their line is pretty good. And like you said, Buccaneers are dumpster fire. So
Yeah.
we'll see about that.
And without Mike Evans.
So that does it for the week 10 bold predictions. So let's go ahead and move on to our new segment, our newer segment to the podcast, Seth's Random 2 Minutes.
Okay, so this week I have a question. It's actually something that I was going to ask a couple weeks ago, but my favorite athlete is Tiger Woods, and he arguably hasn't been very good in the last 7 to 10 years. Do you want to see somebody who has performed at a really, really high level, your favorite athlete, do you want to see them retire on top? Or do you like seeing them try to fight even when like their body is breaking down? What would you rather see? I'm trying to think of a classic example of somebody who retired in time, like somebody who didn't probably is like Michael Jordan or maybe Tiger Woods. You could
So
argue that
Barry Sanders retired actually too early.
Yes.
But he
there
was
you go.
amazing.
That's a perfect example. Does that maintain the athlete's legacy? Or does it leave you kind of questioning, like, why didn't they just stick it out longer? They had so much more left.
See, it's kind of a double-edged sword because if they retire early, you're like, why aren't you playing?
Yeah.
But if they suck, like Peyton Manning did his last year, then you're
Totally.
like, why didn't you retire last year?
Exactly.
So,
Or like, and then
It's a lose-lose.
there are some where it can be like annoying, especially in team sports when they keep bouncing around to different teams. Like Brett Favre, it kind of became a joke at the end. It's like
Yeah.
he's like, I'm gonna retire from football. No,
I'm coming back.
and then he came back. I'm gonna go to coach high school and rep Wrangler.
Yeah.
I mean, if he didn't do that, he wouldn't have led the NFL in all-time interceptions. So he probably should have retired.
He probably should have retired after
Probably.
9-10 with the Vikings.
If he
and then-
retires, he doesn't go to that NFC Championship game and get screwed out of Super Bowl appearance. So, I mean, I kind of like it if they go till the wheels fall off. You might as well up your point. Like for a basketball player, you might as well, like Shaq, you might as well get a couple more points to add on.
Or Kobe Bryant.
Can't hurt.
Yeah. That's very
But isn't
true.
it hard to watch like somebody who is really, really good, like just slowly die?
I think you're going to
Yeah.
start seeing that with Dwayne Wade.
Probably. And I think even people like Michael Jordan, I mean, he was still doing decent when he retired, you know? I don't know. I think there's something for a legacy of going out
He
on
straight
top.
up switched sports. That's weird.
He
That's true.
promised his dad. It was a different situation.
That's true.
I just think, I don't know. I almost like the going out on top better. I think if you're looking for like a legacy or a story, like why not retire when you're one of the best players?
Right. I like that idea, but if I were the athlete, I would be going till the wheels fall off. The money's there.
I was going to say, it depends on how much you want the money,
Yeah,
probably
so-
too.
I think that has a little bit to do with it.
Yeah.
This has been Seth's Random 2 Minutes.
Next segment
it.
up, QB down. What to do now? Quarterback down.
Dun,
what to
dun,
do
dun.
now? It rhymed a little more in my head. So first one up, Texans. Deshaun Watson's down. That leaves DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, and Lamar Miller
This
in
is-
question.
This is probably the saddest injury of the season. I mean, there's been some really terrible ones, but this one, I don't know. That hurt me the most.
He was our MVP.
He was the MVP, and he was just, as a rookie, he was doing amazing. And just, my team of 3 Texan starters just got demolished.
What team?
Exactly. No team anymore.
So basically, for me, looking at those 3 players I just named, DeAndre Hopkins, surprisingly, he actually kind of did something last week.
Yeah. But
he's the only person you probably want to own.
Yeah, and even that,
or not probably want to own.
even then, I'm not going to feel as good starting him week to week because you have Tom Savage, who doesn't look good at all, throwing to him. And I don't know. Yeah, Hopkins still start worthy, but
right.
I don't know, not reliable.
I didn't mean you want to own him. You want to start. You want to start DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes.
Lamar Miller, you're probably going to have to start him. If
You're still starting. It goes back to the floor. You probably expect what he did at the start of the season when Savage was starting.
7 to 9 points.
Exactly. He has that solid floor, but don't expect those 20-plus games, 20-plus point games that he's been having. Don't expect those to happen again.
Exactly. And then Will Fuller?
Will Fuller is downright not even startable anymore.
No.
He had, 50 yards this past week?
Maybe even under that.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So
maybe it was just 5 points total. It might have been PPR.
You're probably right.
But still, you can't trust. You can't start Fuller anymore.
He's a deep threat receiver, and Savage can't throw that far. So.
Exactly.
Our next quarterback down, what to do now, is Aaron Rodgers. So Packers, we have Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, and Ty Montgomery left in question.
And all of them, I don't trust any of them anymore.
Yeah, I'm not going to start Jordy Nelson.
You can't even trust Jordy. One of the most reliable wide receiver.
How sad is that?
None of them are a must start.
Seriously. And
the only kind of positive thing is that Devontae Adams had 7 catches last week.
Yeah.
He's basically Jarvis Landry right now.
Yeah.
Except the worst version.
In PPR, that'll redeem him a little bit. But other than that, it's just I'm staying away from everybody. Yeah. Even the running backs, because looks like it's a running back by committee now with Montgomery and Jones.
Yeah, and when the Packers were in the red zone, at least last game, Brett Hundley gets a little bit run happy, and he obviously ran in for a touchdown.
Right.
So,
even steals their touchdowns.
Yeah, so Brett Hundley is I thought he'd be kind of decent, but no, he's probably the worst check down Charlie in the league.
Right. It's unbelievable how bad he looked.
I think he had 2 passes past 10 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
And one of them was that Devontae Adams one.
I think
at the very end of the game.
I feel like the only way that the Packers are going to get through this is if they kind of change how their offense works. Because I feel like they're kind of staying in the same setup they had when Rodgers was quarterback.
Yeah.
I think you're going to have to change the playbook. You're going to have to change your style because you have a way different quarterback now.
Hundley is no Rodgers.
Right, exactly. So don't expect him to be.
So would you rank Devontae Adams above Jordy Nelson?
I probably would, especially if you're in PPR. And I guess Adams is probably he's had a touchdown. Hundley has thrown him a touchdown that first week he was in. So that's promising in and of itself too.
Next struggling quarterback situation is the Buccaneers. Jameis Winston injured his throwing shoulder, going to be out for a couple weeks, so you're going to have Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing to Mike Evans, Cameron Brate, and Doug Martin.
Which in this one is probably it's not as bad. It's not as bad as Savage or Hundley. I think I would rank Fitzpatrick above both of those quarterbacks.
I would as well.
I think he's looked, from what I've seen, he hasn't looked terrible as a backup when he came in. But it does downgrade. It still does. It downgrades them, but just not as much.
Yeah, he was a top 15 quarterback 2 years ago. So he's definitely playable.
Yeah,
he's kind of like a Josh McCown. So
true. Was on the Jets,
and he'll at least sling the ball. He'll at least throw it.
He's confident. Yeah, I agree. And I don't know. I think it's hard though because Martin has looked terrible too. I mean, this past week he was bad, and they've talked about Peyton Barber getting more carries. So I'm more worried about Doug Martin than I think I am about Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson.
Oh, yeah, Deshaun Jackson. I didn't even mention him. Cameron Brate I would downgrade quite a bit, though.
That's true.
He doesn't seem to throw the tight ends as much. So, But Mike Evans, you're going to throw to him no matter what.
Right, even if he's covered.
Except for next game because he's suspended. Next quarterback situation up is the Cardinals. So Carson Palmer down, Drew Stanton in. You got the Fitz, AP, John Brown, and Jaron Brown. I mean, this one's not as bad either.
It isn't.
I think Drew Stanton was all right. I guess the first game back, we're seeing him play against the Niners. The Niners have been terrible. So you're really going to have to look this week against the Seahawks, that Thursday night game, to see if he's even going to be able to get the ball to Fitz, because Fitz didn't look that bad. I mean, he had 7 catches for 90 yards or something.
Not as bad as I thought he would be.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? He looked pretty good. I think that kind of benefits Stanton is because he's been on the Cardinals for a while. He's been the backup. He's observed everything. He knows the system and everything like that. He's a similar quarterback to Palmer. So I think
he's not afraid to throw it.
Exactly. I think, I agree with you. I think this is a better situation too. Obviously, he's still a downgrade, but Fitzgerald's still startable in PPR at least.
Definitely. I would say even standard. You can flex him.
Yeah.
After last week. But kind of wait and see against a better defense.
Yeah, it'll be the true test.
Then the last quarterback situation is the Colts. So we have Andrew Luck, never made it in. And then we have Jacoby Brissett. So he's had quite a few games under his belt.
Yeah.
You have T.Y. Hilton, Dante Moncrief, and then Frank Gore, Marlon Mack. So I think the player that people will mostly be concerned about is T.Y. Hilton. He's obviously you drafted him high. I mean, top 20, 25 picks. You kind of expect him to be your number 1 wide receiver. So
right.
And
he's
forward.
Really only had 3 good weeks.
Right.
He's insanely boom or bust.
But they have been some good weeks.
When he booms big. Over 20 points big.
But when he busts, he busts.
Yeah. It's all or nothing literally with him. And I don't know. I think Brissett has looked better as the weeks have gone on, just as he gets used to the system.
Right.
So I'm not as down on him and on Ty as I was in the beginning. But still, he's not reliable, which makes T.Y. Hilton unreliable at the same time.
T.Y. Hilton is averaging 7.2 targets per game. So in these past 3 games, he's had 9, 7, and 8. So that's got to be a little bit more promising.
Yeah, and the coaches vocalized that they're intentionally getting him more targets, more looks. They're trying to involve him more in the game, which does help. I mean, that helps Hilton's value. But I think if I had him, I'm trying to sell high this week for sure.
I don't know if I am.
Really?
I would want to trade for T.Y. Hilton or hold on to him. Just because of his targets are going up.
Yeah.
I mean, the ball was, I think it was like a 52-yard touchdown or something.
His first one?
All in air from Brissett. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a nice touchdown.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, he's quick and in space. He's hard to tackle. So I don't know. I kind of like him, especially since his targets are increasing.
Right. I think the only other thing I will say, they have a rough schedule going forward too. I don't have it pulled up right now, but it's just they play some pretty good. They play 3 top 10 defenses. Actually, they play the first top defense, the second, and the third ranked. So
what? Saints probably are in there.
Saints,
Jaguars,
and here I had it pulled up.
Maybe the Bills.
I think it is, yeah. But so all of those are not weeks that you're not going to want to start them. I mean, you probably will start them, but you won't expect much. The Steelers, the Jaguars, the Broncos.
Yeah, Steelers have been number 1 for a while. The Broncos, I'm not necessarily afraid of anymore.
That's true. They're tanking hard.
It's not like they're a bad defense, but they're just on the field so much that
it's because their offense is so bad.
As you heard in one of our earlier segments, did Brock Osweiler suck? The answer is yes.
And it's going to be yes, probably every week.
Yes. So let's move on to our next and last segment, and that's going to be Jonathan dropped his mic for the second time in this podcast. Are they droppable? So I've got some players. I don't know if you have some players that you want to bring up for that. Basically, we're just going to say if they're droppable or not and why or why not.
Okay.
So I'll start us off while Jonathan's
still trying
fixing his mic.
Make this not fall on me.
This one I've seen on Twitter quite a bit. Jordan Reed, is he droppable? Your gut reaction.
He's actually been dropped in a couple of my leagues that I'm in, and it's hard. I think he is droppable depending on your situation. Just because he's always injured, and it's always a question if he's even going to play or not that next week. He's great, but to me, he's someone you can drop if there's a better option.
So I have him in a league, and I was forced to drop him because it was a 2-quarterback league, and you can only have 2 tight ends for some reason, and I needed I had Zach Ertz, but he was on a bye week last week, and so
Well,
I had.
he didn't play.
Oh yeah, he was hurt.
He's on a bye week
He's
this
on a
week.
bye
So
week this
you're
week.
basically without Ertz for 2 weeks. But yeah. Anyway.
So I had Zach Ertz, who wasn't playing, and then I had Jordan Reed, who was obviously out, so I had to pick up a tight end. I was
Yeah.
only able to roster two tight ends, so I had to pick up Vernon Davis and drop Jordan Reed. That is the only situation where I would drop him. I think he's a game changer. I mean, what player on the waivers are you gonna pick up that could score you 30 points in a game?
That's a good
Not
point.
many, if any.
That's true. So I should
he's
pick him up in the league he's available.
I believe that would be the league that I'm in, so no, you should not touch him.
Actually, he's available in my work league too. That's what I was.
So yes, you should
I'll
pick
pick him up. Okay.
Just depending on your roster. I mean, if a bunch of people have two quarterbacks, you're obviously going to have a stacked roster, so
Right.
you may not be able to pick him up. But he's a game changer.
Yeah, I think it's just hard because I've been burned by him before. Like last year, I had him, and it's just hard because he's injured so much. But
I mean, I get it if he's left a bad taste. in
he's
your mouth.
definitely. I know he's definitely a playmaker though.
Next one.
Next one, I had might be. I wouldn't say this. I would not have said this at the start of the season, but C.J. Anderson is someone
I
that
had him as well.
nice. It's a tricky one because his value has gone down so much over the past few weeks because Denver has turned into a 3 running back workload pretty much. They're rotating in and out him, Jamal Charles, and Devontae Booker. Obviously, CJ is the best back of the 3, but the Broncos don't seem to think so.
But by how much?
I don't know. He's had over 4. His average is 4 yards per carry, which is good. It's decent, But
Yeah.
he's just not getting the workload that you need to start him.
See, for me, I wouldn't drop him. He's a starting running back, but I definitely want to get rid of him. And, I mean, you could go back to the start of this podcast where the players you wanted to trade for, and I think you could end up getting, like if somebody was holding on to Greg Olsen right now, you could end up getting Greg Olsen. I'd rather have Greg Olsen. You could end up getting maybe a quarterback like Tyrod Taylor or Matt Ryan that haven't necessarily been at the top of the league. You might be able to trade for them, or maybe even like a Ted Ginn.
Yeah, that's true.
Ted Ginn's on the rise right now.
That's a good idea. And you're right. The hard part is what his value is so low, you can't get too much for him. But I like those players that you listed. That'd be a good way to get rid of him.
And then just Devontae Booker and Jamal Adams, droppable for me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they don't need to be rostered.
There's no potential there.
No, it's just when they're competing, when all those running backs are competing for the carries, it makes them all not good, almost worthless.
Yeah, worthless. Yeah. My next one, Ty Montgomery.
He was one of mine as well, with Aaron Jones too. To me, if I had to choose, I'm picking Ty Montgomery out of the 2.
Me too.
So I don't think he's quite droppable yet. That'd be my thing. I think if I had one or the other, if I had Aaron Jones, I'd probably drop him. But my theory, I just think Montgomery outsnapped Jones last week, and I mean we've seen more good things from Montgomery than we have from Jones.
Yeah, Brett Hundley's just so bad. He's just killing everybody.
I know. I obviously, if you have him, you're not starting him, and you can't really trade Montgomery away,
No.
really. So I mean, if there's someone if you have to drop somebody, Montgomery is a viable option. But
I'm probably holding tight with Ty Montgomery and Aaron Jones as well. But I mean, if there's somebody that comes up on the waiver wire, I'm not going to hesitate to let Aaron Jones go.
right, they'd be the first to go. Another one I had was Jonathan Stewart.
Ooh, bye.
Yeah.
I don't want him.
No, he's had 2 terrible weeks in a row, basically, and fumbles have plagued him. It's just, and obviously, I don't feel like he's not worth it at all. He's not even getting the touchdowns that you would need to start him, so he's droppable.
Yeah, no argument there. Danny Amendola.
See, I don't think you drop him yet. I think since Hogan's out, I think he gets a couple more targets this week, but I think once Hogan's back, you drop him for sure.
Yeah, Hogan's got his injuries. He's kind of doubtful this week. I would expect him to probably sit this week, maybe play next week, but for sure in 3 weeks you could see him. So he's going to be out for a little bit. I don't know. I'm not holding on to Danny Amendola, though. I mean,
if you're in standard, you definitely don't hold on to him.
No.
I'm
Not at all.
thinking PPR. I think my default's usually PPR. So sorry,
Yeah,
but
yeah, I should probably clarify. Standard, no, his last couple weeks, I don't think were too impressive. Yeah. So versus the Chargers, 2 catches, 14 yards. Versus Falcons, 3 catches, 17 yards. Versus the Jets, 3 catches, 40 yards. The last decent game he had was Week 5 versus Tampa Bay, 8 receptions, 77 yards. So really not even PPR relevant this past 3 weeks.
that is true, and that's not startable at all. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable starting him.
No,
So I mean, if you're not starting him and you don't want to bench him, you're dropping him.
exactly.
You convinced me.
I'm glad.
Yeah, my next one is also kind of tricky. He's one that you haven't been able to play since week 1, but David Johnson, still on.
Goodbye.
Yeah, still on the bench for a lot of people, especially if you don't have an IR slot. Yeah, I actually dropped him in one of my leagues. I have him in I think I have him in 4 out of my 5 leagues still, so it hurts. But maybe 3 out of my 4 out of my
Rigged?
5.
How did you get him? And
Well, it's because I think 2 of those leagues, someone in my league dropped him after he was hurt. After he got hurt.
Okay.
So I didn't draft. In some of those leagues, I didn't draft him.
I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Rigged.
but still, the coach has shown, has basically said that he doesn't think that Johnson's going to come back.
And why would they bring him back anyway?
Yeah, it's a lost season right
Playoffs,
now.
Yeah, so.
Palmer's not there. Peterson's still doing okay, So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean he's doing all right. He rushed for over 100 yards.
I mean, I guess that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, better than what's his face, Kerwin Williams.
It just makes you think, if Johnson was playing, think how much better he would have been than Peterson in that game. Think how much better Johnson would have been with his 37 carries than Peterson was. It's just
There would have been some pretty happy fantasy owners.
makes me cry inside just thinking about it. But yeah, I actually did drop him in one of my leagues today. I think he's droppable, just with the uncertainty around him if he's actually going to be back or not.
Yeah,
Sad.
I completely agree. I do not have any more.
I just have one more.
Okay.
And actually I have quite a few more. I'll go through them fast. Tarek Cohen is another one.
Hold on to.
You think?
Yeah.
All right. I don't.
Let's look at his last game.
That's the thing. I think this is another PPR versus standard thing. In standard, I think you dump, but PPR, he's valuable. So that's how I usually see it.
Yeah, only 4 carries last game. Had 0 carries the game before, so
He's basically you're expecting a couple catches and a few catches, and that's probably about
yeah,
it.
and maybe a punt return for a touchdown because I know he's still special teams. So PPR,
Yeah.
maybe a deeper league hold.
True. My other one, other 2 other ones I have 3 left, but 2 of them we've already talked about. Jamison Crowder is one we have not talked about. He had a good week 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, this
And
is only
then-
week this year, so no, I'm
Right.
dropping him.
And I
he got
think,
hurt.
I mean, there's some people I know that have been holding him for a long time, but it's just not worth it.
No, you can't hold on to somebody from 10 weeks.
No.
He's on 1 out of 9 or 1 out of 10 weeks. You got to let him go.
Yeah, not worth it at all.
Let him be free.
Let someone else deal with them.
So is that?
That's all I got.
All right, so that's our droppable players. If you have any more questions about players that you think could possibly be droppable on your team, tweet at us. We'll let you know. Send your roster or roster updates so we can kind of assess that. But let's make sure you check out our website. That's frontlinefantasyfootball.com. We have links to our Twitter, Instagram, YouTube there. So basically you can see all of our content. It's Jonathan's blogs. I know he released one. What was the blog called this week?
It was fantasy stock market value, talking about T.Y. Hilton and Devontae Parker.
So definitely go check that out. We'll have Brandon's starts and sits. We'll have my rankings. We'll have Austin's DFS and your favorite. We also have the Instagram or the dogs versus babies, so you can go there to see those videos.
Oh, yeah.
Also, follow us on Twitter, FrontlineFF. Ask us questions. We'll always answer. We've answered every single question we've been asked.
Ooh.
Go check out our YouTube page, Frontline Fantasy Football, where you can see this podcast. You can see the looks that Jonathan and I give each other. How sensual they are.
Gazing deep into each other's eyes.
Also, check out Apple Music, not iTunes. Leave reviews.
Not Apple Music either.
What?
It's Apple Podcasts.
Very specific.
Well, while you're checking out Apple Music, make sure you
Hashtag
check
pray
out
for Jason.
Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review. Tell us we suck or tell us we're good. We'd like that too. Either one is good. Also, you can listen to us on Google Play, right, Seth?
There you go, Jason.
So, remember, score more fantasy points than your opponent this week. Until next time.